Hi, Max from Inactivate here, and today I'd like to talk to you about breathwork, how to be more effective in your breathwork. And I've got 5 tips from my own 33-year experience of doing breathwork, Zen, meditation, different methods. And there's just a few things that anyone can do to deepen and to get results faster. So the first thing, the most important thing, is going to be consistency. So when you start out with breath work, you might try a number of different methods. You might listen to a number of different people, and that's a really good thing. Dip your toe in, absolutely. But once you find someone that resonates with you, once you find a method that's working for you, that seems to fit with you, you want to stick with that for a period of time. Now, that doesn't mean that you're married to that forever and you shut everything else, out. But it does mean that in order to get results, you want to do at least 3 months, 3 to 6 months with one method and be consistent with that method. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results that you want to get. Doesn't matter if it's skiing, tennis, snowboarding. If you're watching different videos from different people who are giving you different hints on how to do it and trying different things, you're going nowhere. You really need to find something, as I say, that resonates with you, that seems to work, and you've got to follow that for a period of time, ideally a year. Because in a year, you're going to see real changes, lasting changes. And that's what you want to see. That's why you're doing breath work, right? So consistency of method, very important, and consistency of when you practice that method. So most people are going to go for a morning slot before they start the day, before they start their things that they need to take care of and responsibilities. That is the best slot, in my opinion. But for some people, the way their lives are, it may be a midday slot. It may be like a lunch hour, 5 minutes at their lunch hour, 10 minutes at their lunch hour break. That can work very well also. For some people, it may be more of an evening thing. But I don't really recommend that, because on days when you're tired, it's not going to work so well. Like, the evening could be a bonus if you've already got a morning slot or an afternoon slot that is your consistent main time that you do your breath work. Think of the evening or the night time as a bonus to get an extra one in and just enjoy that, right? So why is that important? Well, if you don't have a regular slot, like this is my time, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or my lunch break, I go to a certain park, I sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. If you don't have that slot built into your schedule and it hasn't become a habit for you, then you're going to have to work every single time to make it happen. You're going to have to figure out how to drum up the willpower within your busy schedule to find that slot and make it do it, right? And that takes energy. Whereas if you create a regular time that's part of your routine, it's just much easier to be consistent. And as I've already said, it's the consistent practice that gets you results. That's just the reality with most things in life, but it's absolutely the reality with any kind of breath work, inner work. Consistency gets results. And the more you see results, then that compounds and you're able to be more consistent because you see, wow, this is benefiting me in all these different ways. You just keep going with it, right? So number one is consistency. That's my first tip, most important thing. The second point that I would pick up is observe your thoughts. Don't be bothered. Don't be upset when you have distracting thoughts. So everybody is going to have a certain amount of distracting thoughts when they're doing any kind of meditation or breath work. It's just part of the deal. Now, if you allow that to be a problem, or if you think of that as a problem, why am I being distracted? Why am I thinking about this, that? You're creating friction within yourself. But if you can just observe the thoughts that are regularly arise, if you can observe the ways in which your mind is pulled as you're sitting doing your practice, you're actually not trying to make that bad. You're not trying to make that wrong. You're just observing and you're seeing your own patterns of thought, right? This is a very, very powerful thing to begin to see and to begin to be able to observe Most people are never going to sit down and become aware of the patterns of thought that they've built. But when you start doing breath work or meditation or any kind of inner work, it's an opportunity to start to become aware of the patterns of thought that you have. Now, when I do classes here in Japan and I have people, this is one of the most common things people ask about distracting thoughts. Well, I say, listen, you're the one who's built that pattern. No one else has built that pattern. These thoughts are not, they haven't just randomly appeared in your head. We as individuals, all of us, create patterns of thinking and feeling. And by stimulating those same neurons again and again, thinking those same thoughts again and again, we make them stronger. We reinforce them in our brain, right? So if you sit down and practice and you start to become aware of your thoughts, especially ones that come up regularly, that's telling you what you're thinking about. It's telling you what you're concerned about. It's telling you what you're anxious about. And that's very powerful because even though it can be distracting, now you are more aware, and in the rest of your day, as those thoughts come up, you're going to be able to start disinvesting your energy from them, disengaging with them. And over the long term, that's what's going to reduce the amount of those particular distracting thoughts in your mind as you're doing your practice, because now you're not giving so much energy, so much power to them throughout the day, because you're not on repeat thinking those again and again, because when they come up, you're like, wait a minute here. These are the thoughts that keep coming up as I'm doing my breath work, and I don't want to keep sending my nervous energy, which is electromagnetic energy, thought energy. I don't want to keep sending that energy into those particular thought patterns. So you're going to start to disengage with them, and over time, that is going to create less distracting thought and more calm, more focus in your practice. I will also say that as you do any kind of work consistently, it's going to be easier. You're going to have less distracting thoughts, you're going to be more focused, and it's just going to get easier and easier as it compounds, which is why I've already said the most important thing is consistency. So the next point that I like to recommend is, if you can, be outside. Be outside when you're doing your breath work. That may not work for where you're living. It may not work for certain times of year. Maybe it's raining heavily. Maybe there's mosquitoes, whatever. But if you can, and when you can, be outside. If that's on a balcony, if that's sitting on the grass, if that's on a beach, if that's in a park, being outside inherently creates a different state in our brains and bodies, and it's going to assist you with this work, right? It's going to make it easier for you. Simple as that. Being inside, especially being in an environment around a lot of non-native EMFs or computers and Wi-Fi's, and especially your own computer and your own things that you own, this is my thing, that in itself can generate distracting thought, and it can kind of leans us in a direction away from inner focus and work, because it's pulling us towards the tasks of the day, the things we need to do. That's what happens when we're in our own environment. Now, of course, you can, within your home environment, set up a nice space that's dedicated for this. Some people maybe don't have that option. Of course, you can do breath work inside, and I do, and you can do it anywhere, but you're just giving yourself a big natural advantage by being outside. You're giving yourself a better brainwave state, physiological state to begin the exercise with. Therefore, it's going to be easier to dive in and go a little bit further, and you're going to make progress faster if you can spend time outside while you're doing it. The next point, straight spine. Align your spine. Think about your posture. This is so important. This is something I didn't get for many, many years. So I was doing meditation for many, many years, supporting my back with a cushion and things like that. But when I started to take the time to build the musculature, to build the ability to sit with a long, elongated, straight spine, not a military posture, but not a slouched posture or with any kind of angles in your spine. You want a long, strong spinal posture so that the energy in your nervous system, in your central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord can flow smoothly. So energy, and your nerves run on energy, electromagnetic energy, as I've already said. This needs to flow, this needs to move, and it wants to move smoothly to all the organs of the body. The body is communicating with all the different organs, the brain, the muscles, the posture. There's a constant flow of nervous energy and communication. We want that to be as smooth as possible and not inhibited by any kinks, pressure points, and any bad posture. Very, very important, but also quite difficult. So posture is not something that's going to be fixed immediately. Posture is going to take time. Posture is going to be something you work on over time and you develop, right? And that's fine. I didn't in the beginning have the ability to sit for long periods of time with a good posture, but now it's effortless because I've over time built up what I need in my body, the muscles, to be able to support that. And that is going to be a really key point. So I do notice in my students, especially in the beginning, a lot of people will tend to, over time in an exercise, slouch down. The neck may come forward, the chin may come forward, especially when they're relaxing. But that's not what we want. We want a relaxed posture, absolutely, but we want a long, strong spine. The final point, the last point, is don't become dogmatic in your practice. Don't become rigid. Don't say, okay, I've had a certain experience, or I felt a certain energy, or I felt a certain benefit, and now I'm going to chase after that. That's not going to serve you well. What you want to do is, yes, you want to be consistent. Yes, you want to follow the various points that I've already mentioned, but you want to have a flexibility and openness. Why? Because you're dealing with this living body, this living field of energy. The breath is this life force that's moving in and out of us. And that energy is not something that you can pin down to a certain experience or a certain way of doing it. You want to stay open. You want to be relaxed, not dogmatic. You don't chase after previous experiences that you've had. Why? I'm not going to come back to the same spot and chase after exactly this view, this cloud formation. It's going to be different every day, right? And that's the beauty of breath work. It's going to be different, and you're going to be, if you're open, you're going to be able to evolve with that, flow with that, and you're going to have many more interesting and positive experiences and get a lot more out of this, rather than if you're rigid and you think it's about creating a certain mental state or a certain type of joy or a certain type of bliss or a certain, it's none of that. It's a moving, living, evolving thing. And the more open we can be, the more relaxed we can be with it, the more we are going to get out of it. So those are my 5 hints for anyone doing breath work after 33 years of studying and learning and still learning. I certainly don't know everything about this. I'm learning every day. I want to keep learning. So important. I hope this benefits someone. And if you enjoyed this, give us a like, give us a subscribe. And below the video, there is a link where you can come in and check out some more of our material if you'd like to do that. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.